Yeah, cool. I'm going to talk about what's new in HTML 3.2. But to be honest, the visage of the slides is a bit, it's a bit too modern. So we're going to take things back a little bit. We're going to roll it back, we're talking about 3.2. This is from 1996, and so I want to make sure I kind of capture the feel. In fact, this kind of background thing going on right now is actually literally the background of the HTML 3.2 specification. This is the real specification. This is it today on the web, and it has a tiled background. It's fantastic. Oh my god. All right. So we're in 1996. 1996 is way before these things. I mean, before the iframe, innerHTML, IBM class, the span, BG color, also Peachpuff. Shout out to Alex Sexton, tell you all about Peachpuff. This is around the time of Netscape Navigator 2.0. And in fact, this is the time when LiveScript was being renamed to JavaScript. And the scuttlebutt has it that the reason why I went from LiveScript to JavaScript was something along the lines of Netscape created this thing, and they're like, it's really cool, but it's probably not going to catch on. It doesn't really have a cachet to really attract attention unless it has a name that kind of excites people, maybe something that's attached to a bigger programming language. At the same time, someone was like, hey, well, we'd really like to put the Sun Java VM into Netscape. So if we can get that VM in there, you can use our name thing, and that'll work out. So it's kind of like that little shady kind of deal. This is just the scuttlebutt. I don't know for sure, but let's put this out. So 1996, Navigator 2.0, Windows 95, Snood, good things. All right, and check this out. So talk about 3.2, but before this, HTML actually started in IETF, right? They're figuring all this internet-y DNS-y things, right? And they figured that out back there, and it kind of comes in, and then there's this HTML, there's a working group. The working group sucks over there. They created HTML3, it's bad, and they find a way. So in fact, what happens actually is there's 2.0, and it's good, but it was sticking around for a while. They tried 3, and they just threw everything in there, and it got too huge. So they got rid of half of it, and they took some of the new things, created 3.2, that was a real thing. So 3, what was actually in 3 and all that 110 elements, there was actually some things that we don't have that would have been nice. One of them, the first casualty of HTML3 was the figure, which looks kind of a lot like today's HTML5 figure element, but slightly different. So in fact, one problem that they had was they didn't actually test to see if this works on browser, and it doesn't really fall back, so they kind of blew it. But as I'm looking this up, one thing really stuck out, which is kind of fascinating. Check this out. In addition to everything that you see here, also in the HTML3 spec was this. This is the message digest attribute on the figure element. And in fact, it is an MD5 cryptographic hash, which helps the user agent validate the actual contents of that image. This is in 1996. This is crazy because this is what took another 20 years for us to kind of re-implement as sub-resource integrity, which was implemented about last year. Looks a little bit like this. So this is how you do it today, and then they figured out way back then, which is kind of cool. Another thing that was in 3 was banner. Check this out. Okay, so they say, this is in the spec, it's used for corporate logos, navigation, blah, 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 which should not be scrolled with the rest of the document. This is the HTML version of position fixed, basically. And then it follows, they're like, this is an alternative to using link with the banner, and I was like, link with a banner? And I go and I find it, and it's this, and I'm like, whoa. So this right here, this is again before the iframe. This is a pseudo iframe that is automatically position fixed at the top of your document, which is a very specific thing to have kind of first class support for. So you can see why I killed it. A few other casualties. Input type range, actually basically the exact same thing as what we have and input type scribble. It's good. Okay. And then you're like, scribble. And then it turns out it's all about scribbling on an image. And you're just like, I scribble on an image, okay. And it turns out if you are actually feeling a little left out here, don't worry about it. There is a polyfill. Thank God. Someone made a nice little polyfill. And what was it like this? You just get an image, and then all of a sudden you can just kind of like drag and scribble on it. And that was the feature. Nice. Okay. That was 3. What about 3.2? 3.2 actually has new things. Has these nice new things, these formatting elements, which are important. They were a big relief, and then like 5 years later, you're shamed once you use them. Blink is probably what you expected around this time. The blink element is not in the spec. It was implemented in one of the browsers, but it was not actually native. And so what happened is it kind of died around this time. So there was a bunch of features being proposed. Of course, everyone wanted their feature in there, and so a few people got together and created the editorial review board. Basically, the grown-ups got together and were like, okay, well, we're just gonna like make a call and say no, 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 no to all the good stuff. And so everybody thought Blink was slightly goofy, and so they're like, yeah, we should probably not have it. And so this is basically how the conversation went at one of the working group meetings. The resource that the group got together and said, hey Netscape, can you guys like just take care of that and like remove it? And Netscape's like, only if Microsoft removes Marquee, because that's weird shit too. And they're like, okay, yeah, we agree. So that's kind of mutual agreement there to get rid of the 2 goofy things. All right, table element, also brand new to HTML 3.2. Table element's kind of interesting. There was a big argument around this. The U.S. Navy had this group with this weird acronym. They were all about documentation. They created some web standards themselves, and the SGML guys, which how they kind of they got really upset around the actual proposal for table elements into the HTML spec, and they said it was incompatible with their model. Their model was really like fancy. It just had all these ways of grouping columns and spanning columns and all these things. And so they ended up finding a way to work it out. And so you can actually find this, this is back in an early spec, which found its way into the HTML spec. And he's like, blah, 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 we're going to adopt the CALS model. So they sorted it out. And so we're going to do these things. And I like this part. So he's like, so that browsers can provide fixed headers above a scrollable body panel. So like already thinking of this use case, wouldn't it be nice if you can have a table element where the table header actually stays fixed and the body scrolls behind it and underneath it? Wouldn't that be cool? And it's like, yeah, it would still be cool, yeah, even today in 2016, when you actually cannot do this at all. It's like the worst thing in the world. All right, script and style. Ooh, some of the most important things ever. These were introduced in HTML 3.2. However, they were inert. They just said, yeah, these are elements, whatever happens inside of them, don't really know, but they seem important, so we're just gonna like say that they're a thing now. And so it's like, yeah, we'll figure it out in future versions of HTML. So, yeah. In fact, this was around the time when CSS was kind of like, both CSS and JavaScript were just like sorting each other out. And so they didn't really know. In fact, CSS was not a for sure thing. There was a competitor called Dissel. It looks like this. So it was like between CSS and this. And this, I mean, it's actually pretty right. Like, take this like we could have had CSS variables in 1996 if we just did that. It's not that bad. I could do it. Dissel. All right. The other thing I really like is I saw this in one of the specs back there. It says there's performance concerns. What if the network request to get an external style sheet might actually delay the presentation to the user? It was really good. Like even back then, they already kind of like had a premonition about render blocking CSS, and like Speech Hours wasn't even born yet, and they're just like, that might be a problem. So that was good. And then they're like, yeah, but it's okay because you can still have inline CSS, so that's never going to be a problem, guys. Yeah, good one. All right, the div. The div was introduced in 3.2. And in fact, it's kind of funny. It was introduced because center was like so popular. Everyone liked centering things. But they were like, we want to center all the things, but sometimes we want to right align things, and so we're going to want this like align attribute. And they're like, okay, but if we introduce a line, then what is like center? So center, we kind of need to like make that generic. So can we like kill center and just use align center? Like, okay, cool. We could just align center div. Document division, yeah, cool, that's it. And so, that's easy enough. Put in the center of it. Now the p tag was actually not new here, but if you go to the p tag, so this is the spec. Like, this is all it has to say about the p tag. It's crazy. It's like, boop. And it says the end tag can always be omitted. And in fact, it says text like this a lot. Okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, hold on. I think I got this, guys. You gonna load? Oh, yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, I got this. All right, end tags. End tag. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, this is the 3.2 spec. Oh my god, I gotta go back. This is round. Oh my god. That's fascinating. Alright. Yeah. So, in the 3.2 spec, they talk about like which elements require end tags, where they can be omitted. Well, this one is now mandatory. End tag is optional. End tag is optional. You know, it's like going through everything. And so it's kind of interesting. Like, come back. So, yeah. So they're really into like when it can be omitted because they're just thinking about like the author. Like the authorship needs to be easy and like super casual. Like it'll just recover for whatever. And so this was all very, very like clear in the spec. You do not necessarily need to like write out your HTML head and body tags. You don't need to end them either, and you also don't need to close these tags down here. It's like, don't need to, you can, it's fine. So this was what they said in 3.2, and in fact, this still is the case in modern HTML. So you don't need to do any of these. This is valid HTML 3.2 and valid HTML 5.1, which I'm a big fan of. I don't know about you. Like, how many people close their p tags? How many people like are pretty okay with not closing their p tags? Yeah. It's nice. It's great. Look at this. You don't need to close them. No. I'm not even closing the tables. I don't need to. It figures it out. It's so good. All right. Also, attributes. It is also in the spec. They talk a lot about which attributes where you need quotes and you don't. And this is what's true then and now. You don't need to put quotes around the attributes unless you have some of that stuff. So like, even if it's a big URL, and you're like, oh, there's slashes, don't worry about it. Don't need quotes. If you don't want to, you can if you do, but you don't need to if you don't want to. Anyways, that's it, guys. Thanks very much.